Now over to the House, where more than 24 Democrats told National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Friday they were deeply concerned by the administration's decision to withhold weapons shipments to Israel, as it will only embolden America's enemies, including Hamas. Joining me right now with more on that is Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Congresswoman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Do you agree with the Democrats that weapons should go to Israel right now?
Maria, I went on record very early on saying that anytime you give the Biden administration a tool to use against Israel, they are going to use it. And that's why I think that if you support Israel, we should support them in their war on their terms, not allowing the Biden administration to withhold money, not allowing the Biden administration to have any kind of hook into Israel. And I was right. Literally what I said would happen is happening now, but it's great to see Israel. They're able to handle this on their own. They're continuing on with their war and what they think they should do. You know, I'm unapologetically all-American. I think the border we should be focused on is our own southern border, and that's my focus.
And you have been unable to secure the border, you meaning Republicans. You have also been unapologetic about trying to take down Speaker Mike Johnson. Your motion failed last week. You're being criticized, Congresswoman, because of the timing. We're 6 months away from an election, and you are, quote, creating disruption. What do you want to say to those people who are criticizing you for these efforts?
Thank you very much for that question. You know, the disruption, the chaos, and the drama is in American people's lives. My friends aren't rich billionaires like many of the donors that my colleagues only listen to. My friends and family are regular people, and my constituents are regular people that are sick and tired of being kicked in the teeth every single day by the stupid decisions in Washington, D.C. You know, our wide open border is the only border we should be focused on. Also, I asked Mike Johnson this week, I said, look, if you'll defund Jack Smith, then I'll reconsider this motion to vacate. And he told Playbook last week, no, he will not defund Jack Smith. The weaponized government is one of the most terrifying things we're seeing. President Trump is being prosecuted not only by Biden's Department of Justice, he's being prosecuted by radical DAs that are funded by George Soros in multiple states. And this is something the American people are sick and tired of. They're fed up with Republicans that will not defend President Trump. And that started all the way back with special counsel Robert Mueller. So when I asked Mike Johnson, I said defund Jack Smith and the special counsel. Special counsels have only been around for 25 years, Maria. They're not baked in our Constitution. And our Republican Party, if we want to own the majority coming in January 2025, we need to prove to the American people that we're worth their vote. And so far right now under Mike Johnson, we haven't proven that.
So this is new, because when we first talked about you trying to oust Mike Johnson, it was really about Nancy Pelosi's budget and continuing to spend without securing the border. But now you're talking about Jack Smith and defunding these indictments. Let's take a look at what Playbook reported, because you're right. Playbook asked Mike Johnson about this, and Mike Johnson said that's not something you wave a wand and just eliminate the special counsel as a provision. There's a necessity for the function like that, because sometimes, he goes on to say that, let's see, sometimes the Department of Justice, which is an executive branch agency, can't necessarily, without a conflict of interest, investigate or prosecute the president, who's their boss, or their family. And he writes, he says, we followed up. So are you prepared to write language eliminating Smith's job into the appropriations bills? His answer, no. He will not eliminate the special counsel. Look, people are trying to figure out where is the crime that President Trump committed as he sits in that Manhattan courtroom all day. Why do you think Mike Johnson won't defund Jack Smith?
Well, Mike Johnson's owned by the Democrats, and that proved me to be right again. When I called the motion to vacate, it wasn't Republicans that saved Mike Johnson. It was Democrats that saved Mike Johnson. And when you have Nancy Pelosi who was Speaker of the House when they impeached President Trump twice. And you have Jerry Nadler, who was chairman of the Judiciary Committee that led the impeachment against President Trump, voting to save Mike Johnson. That tells the American people everything that they need to know. Mike Johnson is owned by the Democrats and refuses to protect President Trump, even though he runs down to Mar-a-Lago every chance he gets and hugs him as tightly as possible.
Well, look, we all know how the Democrats see this. Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, was on 60 Minutes last Sunday, and here's what he said. Let's roll it.
Even though we're in the minority, we effectively have been governing as if we were in the majority because we continue to provide a majority of the votes necessary to get things done. Those are just the facts.
I mean, Congresswoman, he said it. Those are the facts. They're providing the bridge to get passage of laws.
That's right. And what Hakeem Jeffries said is absolutely correct. And the two-part omnibus that Johnson passed literally delivered Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrat agenda directly to Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden couldn't wait to sign it into law. But when we have a Republican elected speaker that is unwilling to fight for just a few things that I offered him, then it's proven to Republican voters that we're not doing the job that we were given in 2022 when America gave us the majority. And I stand with President Trump. I support him, and I'm going to fight for him as hard as possible. But if we're going to be a Republican conference that can actually deliver President Trump's agenda, then we need to get in shape and be prepared to do that. And while the election is only 6 months away, we aren't ready. And our voters know it, Maria. Our voters know it. They're saying they're going to skip representatives' names on the ballot. They're going to vote for President Trump, but they're going to skip our names. And that's the most dangerous position to be in.
Okay, so as we wrap up here, final question, and I go back to what I asked earlier about the timing. You say you're supporting President Trump, but is now the time for this disruption 6 months before the election to fight to get a new speaker in place? You know why the Democrats always roll over the Republicans, because they all stick together. They all vote the same way. You don't.
Well, actually, this time the Democrats and the Republicans stuck together and exposed the uni-party like it's never been seen before. You know, and I just spoke with President Trump yesterday about this. And while he says now is not the time, I'm going to be listening to him. But he also said, and he said it in his statement publicly, that it may happen, that the time may come. So even though if I wanted to do it again this week, the Democrats have already stepped in and saved Johnson. But again, I'll reiterate this, Maria, and the most important thing everyone needs to know is the people want a Republican Party that will fight.
Congresswoman, thank you. We'll be watching your work. Thanks very much. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.